Preparing to live stream the meeting. Countdown is commencing. Excellent stuff. And I just need to make sure I'm not broadcasting twice. Oh, okay. Redirecting to YouTube. We're nearly there. Please get your questions into the chat for the dream team. You can see we're preparing to live stream. There we go. We've got Sarah Davey here from Spartan FX. We have Renata from EI, from A, and Nunu so far for the dream team session. So you're here for the Queen of the Visas. She tells me, Renata, that you are Queen of the Appeals. It's you that that SEF have to face in the event of a pushback. I'm sure that's true. And could you tell us a little about yourself and what else you do for EI, please, this evening?
Yes, thank you for the introduction. So good afternoon. I am Renata Monteiro. I am a lawyer from EI Legal Departments, okay? And I handle the appeals. The visa denial process, appeals, and also the residence permit process at the CEF. Okay, so if you have any questions regarding CEF today, I can clarify as well.
Wonderful.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, it's good to have you here. And you're based in Porto as well, aren't you?
Yes, I'm based in Porto, yes.
Have you recovered yet from the São João?
Yes, also I'm Brazilian, so we have this tradition in Brazil as well. So it's good for me to have the same party here in Portugal.
Okay, that's fantastic. Because I mean, among the festas around Portugal, it is legendary, isn't it? It's the one where there's a lot of music and dancing and drinking, and the plastic hammers as
and
well.
The little hammers, yes.
What is the hammer thing about?
I don't know why, for sure they use this, but it's very fun. It's very fun to get in contact with people here.
Yes, on a night when it's okay to wander up to a complete stranger and hit them on the head with a plastic hammer. Yeah, okay. You'll find to try that in Porto at certain times of year.
Jerry, it's plastic, Cole. It should be plastic.
Yes, Jerry. That's why you call those. That's why you might need Renata's help with all those lawyers' letters. You're meant to take a plastic hammer to the São João, Jerry, not a normal domestic one. Jerry's here as well, of course, from Expats Portugal. So we truly have a dream team lined up for you tonight. We're letting Nuno have a bit of a rest from the previous webinar, and we'll talk to Sarah now in the United Kingdom. You're having a bit of a hot summer over there, aren't you? Not, Sarah? Oh, we need you unmuted. Oh, Sarah, can you hear me? I think I'm unmuted. I need you to...
no, I'm on mute. Not again.
How are you? Soggy?
I'm good, thank you. I'm actually in Scotland at the moment.
Oh, okay. Very well. Thank you for joining us today. So you're on tour and joining us from Scotland. How is Scotland at the moment? I think a lot of people would like to know a little bit more about Scotland.
It's nice. Yeah, weather's nice. I'm actually down there. I mean, Americans might know it, but there's a hotel called Knockiam Lodge, which is just probably about 20 minutes up the road, where Eisenhower came across to meet Churchill.
Really?
In this hotel.
Wow, okay, that's quite incredible. Are you having a high-level meeting as well? Or just a nice little break? Anyway, it's none of my business. We need to know about currency. We need to know about currency, don't we? So how exciting is it right now in the world of currency?
It is exciting. It is exciting. So the ECB have raised interest rates 25 basis points, but it was interesting, the comments from Christine Lagarde. I mean, I talk about there's lots of different things that move the markets. We've got obviously anything political, natural disasters, we've got data, but often it is sentiment. It's just someone standing up and talking about what they think might happen, or kind of giving an indication of what they might do next. So Christine Lagarde's always been quite vocal that, she's very keen to fight inflation, and has always implied that they have to raise interest rates very aggressively, similar to the Fed did last year. But actually, interestingly, her comments recently were a little bit more vague and was kind of a little bit more closed off to be doing that, actually. So that was quite interesting, and that's where we saw a little bit dip in the euro, which actually helped people this week that were selling US dollars and buying euros. But ultimately, overall, we've got to bear in mind that they still do need to tackle inflation. And also in the US, for example, interest rates are coming down naturally. So actually, it could be a case of that maybe next year they might actually start increasing interest rates, which would be a negative for the US dollar. So there's lots of stuff to bear in mind going forward. It depends on your time frame. We're talking longer term. As I said, the general trend is if you're selling US dollars and buying euros, it is moving against you. But as I said, we have seen a dip this week. So we've had a lot of customers who perhaps have bought this week, and the difference being from the beginning of the week, on 250,000 euros is about $3,000 US. So what we would say to people is that depending on your timeframes, it's always just best to be prepared. For customers that have opened an account with us, which is free to do, we just help them monitor the rates, and as soon as we see these sort of dips, we help them buy. And generally the people that are buying on those dips are generally better off than the people that are not overall.
Brilliant.
So just be prepared.
Yep, thank you. 3,000 US, that's a month's health insurance, as we as we discovered in the previous
That's 2
webinar.
years health insurance, Carl.
Here it's many years, isn't it? But in the US, it's just a month, I think, for that 3
Yeah.
games. It makes all the difference. Brilliant. Jackie's also with us tonight from the Expats Portugal team. So Jackie, do feel free to chip in as well. Nuno, I know you need a rest after 90 minutes of presentation and Q&A, but is there anything you want to add by way of an introduction to the Dream Team session tonight?
Oh, nothing much. Only that I don't know. Maybe there are some people here that were not on the previous webinar. So if you want to endorse any question, any information about insurance, feel free. Any kind of insurance.
Go ahead. Any kind of insurance for Nuno this evening. Camilla's also here from Winsurance this evening as well. So get those questions in early, please. Rather than all the questions piling in at 9:45, how about we get them in nice and early this evening? We do have some questions already. Thank you, Brian, for this first one. Hi, Carl and Renata and Sarah. I've opened my Spartan FX account. Well done. Yeah, and on that note, it's free to open an account. How easy is it to do, Sarah?
Very easy to do. Just fill out a form online. Usually we might need some documentation of proof of ID or proof of address, but often sometimes it might not be needed if we can take some extra details for you. But we can open the accounts very easily, and it's free to open, and there's still no obligation to use us.
Right.
But it gives you a chance to speak to different members of the team, get to know us, and we can get to know your situation. And often sometimes it's a case of people are speaking to us and getting tips before they use us. So thinking about what do you need to do before you leave the US, for example, or your home country, in regards to anything you need to do with your bank to make it easy to move that money before you go. You don't want to find that you move over to Portugal, or perhaps you come on a scouting trip and you're looking for property, you found a property, you want to make a payment, and then you're struggling to make that money transfer from the US when you're not there, for example.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Sarah. So well done, Brian, on opening your Spartan account. Basic passive income. So this bit's for you, Renata, next. My basic passive income from my UK military pension is €788, which will go into the Spartan FX account every month. And the plan is to top up the initial FX account with 5,000 with instructions to lock in the exchange rate. Oh, we might have to go back to Sarah to explain what that means with this before we go to Renata. So there's a neat little device going on for Brian. I think the question is, could Renata please confirm that this will be acceptable to be considered as €1,000 passive income? For a bit complicated there, Brian, but I think we get the gist of that. Can you answer that, Renata?
Yes, sure, I can answer that. So, Brian, thank you for your question. Regarding the D7 visa, you need to show a monthly income, okay? For the monthly income, by law, you need to show minimum 760. So this value is okay, but remember that you need to show some savings as well in the US and in Portugal, okay?
Okay, excellent stuff, Renata. Brilliant. And let's go back to that earlier part of locking the exchange rate. What's that about, Sarah? Oh, we need to unmute you again. Look, I'm not gonna let you have a third time. You're off the call if you don't unmute for a third time.
Yes, there's lots of other things that we can do around locking into the exchange rate, whether it be buying euros in advance. There's things where we can actually fix a rate for a period of time. Often we need a small deposit, which is not a cost or a charge, perhaps, to do that. And then within your time frame, you can there's two choices. One, for example, say you were buying a property, or maybe it was off plan, or maybe it was pension payments over a 12-month period. There was a certain amount you were getting over 12 months. We would lock it for all that total, and then you can either claim it at a certain date, or if it's pension and it's something that needs to go on a regular basis, say once every month, we can draw it down each month as soon as you pay us the extra 90% that you owe. So it's just different ways of basically fixing the rate, and often it's securing maybe a budget that you've got in mind for a certain payment, or it just helps control your costs by fixing the exchange rate, if that makes sense.
Good news for Brian then, generally tonight. Well done, Brian. Good stuff. Tom's checking in from Ohio, where it's a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade this evening. Well, earlier in the day for you, of course, in Ohio. Tom, Stuart, thank you, Stuart. Made a comment last week that I had a CEF appointment for the 9th of October, but there was no appointment for my wife. Lo and behold, today we got, oh, excellent news. Lo and behold, today we got an appointment for an hour after mine. EI can work wonders. So there you go. A bit of feedback for the team there, Renata. Stuart, a very happy client. A question from Tom, not really so much about visas, currency or insurance, but one I think we can answer here. Does the weather get humid in Lisbon in the summer? It can do. Although this year, it's a cooler year, isn't it, Nuno? You're a Lisboeta.
Comparing with the remainder of the Mediterranean European countries, yes.
Right.
But well, the temperature on a daily basis is around 26 from week till now.
Yeah.
And previously the previous week maybe around 30 all week. So yeah, you can count with 26, 28, 30 degrees during this summer period. And yes, it's humid. Because we have the sea near, many days what happens is that yes, it's hot during the day, but in the evening and the early morning is a little bit chilly. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. You may have seen the meme of somebody in 3 coats for breakfast in Lisbon, and then by lunchtime they've got their shorts and t-shirt on with a Hawaiian garland around their neck. Their sun hat. That's what it's like. It can be a massive temperature differential. While we're talking about this, Renata, you're in Porto. You must pop to Lisbon from time to time for team meetings in the capital. Tom, if you could mute for us, that would be great. Just joined the call. Great to have you here. Renata, what is your comparison? What's the weather like in Porto, and what's your preference? Presumably Porto weather-wise.
Okay, I'm from the northeast of Brazil, so most of the time very hot during the year. And here in Porto, it's cloudy, not very hot as Lisbon. So after 4 years now, I'm used to. But in the beginning, it was hard for me to get used to the weather here in Porto because it's cloudy, it rains. Considering to Lisbon, it rains a lot here.
That's amazing.
The weather is nice. It's quite nice.
Sure, but it's taken a bit of an acclimatization by the sound of it. Some people are delighted to move to Portugal because it's the much better weather compared to what they're used to. But coming from Brazil,
yes,
right,
yes,
the other experience for you.
Yes, but it's nice. Comparing to Lisbon, not very hot and also not very cold. So it's perfect weather here. I like it.
Okay, so extra information for you there, Tom Smith. Let us know. We have other people around different parts of Portugal on the call tonight, so let us know if you want some help on that. We're happy to help with any aspect of moving to Portugal, of course. Derek's here. Hi, Nuno and Gilda. Sarah, we would like to speak with you. Thanks. Camilla got your email, Linda and Derek. I think Derek just doing a bit of admin there, and would like to hear from you, Sarah, I think, by the look of it there. Thanks for being here, and best wishes to you tonight, Linda and Derek. Bruce, you've already had an outstanding response in the chat. Let's share this with everyone else. I understand the benefits of having private health insurance, but for the D7 visa, does a travel insurance policy for a minimum of 30,000 euros, repatriation and zero deductible meet that requirement? Over to you, Nuno, for that.
Yes, not only these 2 conditions, others like COVID-19 coverage and so on. And usually the travel insurance policy don't cover repatriation, and this is the point. So if it doesn't cover repatriation, doesn't comply with the Portuguese authorities' requirements to get the visa. So you need a travel incoming insurance policy. It's slightly different from a regular travel insurance policy.
Okay, thank you for answering that. People on YouTube, unusually quiet. I know there are people watching on YouTube. You're unusually quiet this evening, so if you've got any questions, do ask. And I've lost the rest of my chat now. Oh, here we go. Found it again. Running 2 platforms at the same time. Who says fellas can't multitask? Okay, thank you for that question, Bruce, and thank you, Nunu, for that answer. Yumiko has a question now. Question on the driver's license conversion, a US license to Portugal for 60 plus years of age. I understand we need to start conversion process within 90 days. Is this within 90 days of physically arriving Portugal with a D7 visa, or 90 days from the CEF appointment date, or within 90 days from the date we receive our residency cards? I understand we need to get our US driving records and then have them apostilled, which does come with expiration. Renata, can you comment on this? I know this isn't directly your area, but it looks like you can help us with this.
Yes, sure. It's not directly my area, but we have a team that can help you with this, okay? In AI. But now for US citizens, it's not mandatory anymore for you to convert, just a note, only after 60 years old, okay, of course. And there is no deadline for you to submit this just after the issuance of your residence permit, okay? Before this, there is no deadline for you to submit any application. After the issuance of your residence permit, after you receive the letter in your house, okay? And then you can ask for the exchange of driving license. But please, I'm not the person responsible for this process, okay? Contact our colleagues, contact EI, please, and I will refer you to one of our colleagues who know the procedure very well than mine, okay?
Yes, from the range of queens that you have there, the
Yes.
Queen of Visas, the
Our
Queen of
relocation queens, yes.
Yeah, and then the Queen of Licenses, I think, is Carla, isn't it?
Sorry?
I think the Queen of Driving Licenses is Carla.
It's Carla, yes, it's Carla.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that answer. There you go. I'm sure that helps Yumiko. If it doesn't, please, Yumiko, just carry on asking questions in the chat. That's what it's all about here on the Dream Team session every Thursday night at 9. Thank you, Sarah, for your note in there. No worries, Tom, we've got you now. Nunu wanted to add something, I think, to the driving license.
Yes, only to follow what Renata said. Remember that even though that you are allowed to drive in Portugal on the conditions that Renata mentioned, you are not allowed to drive on other countries. So we depend on the law on the other countries.
Oh, I see. So just because you've been granted a right to be in Portugal, that's not necessarily extended to other territories. Right.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, if you're thinking of herring across the border into Spain, which some people want to do, obviously, you need to be checking first what the appropriate law is on the other border there. Okay, and at the moment, actually, movement in and out of Portugal by air, by land, and by sea is under a special surveillance, isn't it, because of the papal visit? Make sure, those of you living in Portugal at the moment, make sure you've got all your ID with you. I mean, some people get very used to just popping back and forth across the border, don't they, between Portugal and Spain? At the moment, you want to have all your documentation with you in case you get an extra GNR check because of the Pope arriving in the country. Okay, I think we go back to you, Renata. So what you mentioned with Brian's question that you need savings as well. What is the required savings amount for the UK Portuguese bank account for the D7 visa? As initially, I only expect to have 15K, but should be topping up by about an extra 60K. So what's required in the savings there for Brian, Renata?
Okay, first, Brian, sorry, I did US, but it's UK. Okay, you have to have savings in UK. I'm sorry for the last.
No worries.
So it depends on each case, okay? If there is no required amount of certain amount of savings that you need to present in the law, it depends on each case. Okay, so we had to analyze your case to see, but we recommend like 50,000 minimum per person, okay?
Okay, so it sounds like you're heading in the right direction with that.
Something like that, okay?
Yeah. Okay, Brian, and have a chat with EI, with A, whichever way you say it, have the conversation. My passport says Marianne Walker with a beautiful visa inside. Oh, that's lovely. Well done, Marianne. Arrived yesterday. San Francisco consulate works smoothly. We love all this sort of information, people's real life experiences at different consulates and VFSs. 90 days from VFS to approval, then receive passport within 24 hours. Amazing. I'll arrive in Portugal in October and CEF appointments mid-December. I was dreading bumps in the road, but it went smoothly. To those in the process, hang in there. Here I come. Vamos embora, Portugal.
Great. We're waiting for you here.
Absolutely. See you in Portugal, as Jerry might say. Stealing his catchphrase there for a moment. You'll hear that at the end of the call, however. It's how we like to sign off. Oh, and if anyone else has got a catchphrase to add from the Dream Team, we'll hear those as well. So thank you for that, Marianne Walker. That's fantastic. Peder is here. How are you doing, Peder? If you've got any other questions, do let us know. What happens at the CEF appointment? And what do you need for that appointment? We are not ready to apply yet, but I'm gathering information. Thanks. That's a great question from S, isn't it? How is it best to prepare and turn up at a CEF meeting, Renata?
So it depends on each residence permit you're applying for. So I need to know, to guide you better in this question, I need to know what kind of residence permit I will be applying for, okay? But basically, you're going to request your residence permit on the CEF appointment. And you're going also to take a picture, do the biometrics, present all the documents, okay? In front of a CEF officer.
Right, okay. So is a makeover useful for the biometric picture?
Yes. One funny story happened. I don't know if I have time to tell here.
Yeah, do. I'd love to hear this.
One funny story, that it was not with one of my clients, but someone was next to me. The CF has a photographic machine that recognizes your face. Okay, it's programmed to do. You have to be in front of the photographic machine, and the machine goes up and down depending on your height to get your face. And the person, there was a face on the T-shirt. And the person was in front of the CF machine, and the CF machine doesn't recognize the face of the person, just the T-shirt. So please don't go to the CEF appointment with some face on your T-shirt, okay?
Unless it's your own. If you're the sort of person who wears a T-shirt with your own face on it, that's okay.
Yes.
But generally speaking, do not wear your Che Guevara T-shirt or whoever else to your CEF appointment. That's brilliant. Thank you for that. So there you go, S. I hope that helps. Renata, did you say 15K or 50K on the savings?
Sorry, 50.
I thought you said that. We're just checking for Jean there. Another one for you, Renata. Thank you. Says Yumiko, I hope to meet you when we arrive in Porto in late September, early October. We have an October the 4th CEF appointment, and we just asked Carolina, we will be seeking CEF appointment assistance from A. Also, by the way, A rocks. So thank you for that, Yumiko, for your lovely feedback there. If you could pass that on to the team, that'd be fantastic, Renata. Over to YouTube then, Nubianet's there. Just an early bird, listening while working. Thank you for working and lurking this evening, Nubianet. Jean, just saw you pop up on YouTube. Thank the algorithm. Great to have you here as well, Jean. Mama Bear, glad to be here, learning more about the requirements for moving to Portugal. Thank each of you for all your help and advice. That's from Angela, who was with us earlier on. Thank you, Angela. L, I am registering for a digital nomad residency visa beginning in 2024. 2 years, not the temporary one. However, my passport expires mid-25. Will there be an issue with this? Yeah, lead times and a time elapsed or time before a passport elapses. What's your guidance on that, Renata?
Yes, your passport should be valid for more than 6 months. Okay.
All right. So that sounds like it's okay for L there, if it's going to expire in mid-25. What I didn't ask you, Renata, which I normally ask Gilda, is there any news from the world of CEF? Any updates on the exciting digital nomad world, or anything else that you might be able to share with us?
Not yet this week, not yet. We are waiting for some appointments to open on the CF Facebook page, but no news yet. Okay, this week.
Okay. All right. And given that we're just coming up to August, do you think that it's all just, I mean, you know, the advice we generally give about expecting things in Portugal in August is probably not to expect things in August. Is that going to be the same for CEF and all other government offices? Should we write off August effectively?
Yes, CF don't close at all in August, but most of CEF officers are on vacation. So it's normally slow in August. Okay, also the consulates, people in consulates are on vacation. So please don't worry if your visa is a little bit delayed. It's because of the vacation here in Portugal, okay?
And that means, doesn't it, that a lot of CEF officers around the world will be heading back to Portugal in August as well. So yeah, you might be sitting next to one on an airplane, or you might bump into them at the beach or the cafe, and you can ask them a few questions. Amazing, isn't it? I wonder what it's like for a CEF officer to come through immigration. and see it face to face for the annual pilgrimage back to the country each year. That's great. Thank you for that insight about August. And any other Dream Team members who might want to share their experience of how things do or don't work in August, you're very welcome to do so. Edith, Washington, D.C. says Edith is the best processing of visas, 30 calendar days. So it sounds like the American consulates are doing pretty well, Renata, at the moment.
Yes, they also are doing pretty well, but they also have been denying some visa applications more than we are used to.
Oh, okay.
I'm here today to talk about this. If someone has experienced that, some
Yes.
denial, we have been noticed that American consulates are very tough now, pretty tough. So we are handling more appeals than ever. Okay.
And that's where you come in, isn't it?
Yes, that's why I come in today.
And the atmosphere changes.
Yes.
Stepped into the room. I'm going to ask you about that process in principle in just a moment. Then Jean saying over on YouTube, congratulations on the visa. Newark, New Jersey consulate was very efficient when I dealt with them. Also, they are easily accessible by New Jersey Transit. Fantastic. Autumn Aspens, yes, still live. We are live until, well, for another 30 minutes or so. Let's come back to the Zoom chat where we prioritize the questions there. And one here from Peda in Wales. 2 questions. Number 1, I'm not sure what I heard regarding driving licenses. I'm 75 and counting. Any problems swapping my Brit driving license for a Portuguese license? Also, whatever happened to the international driving license? How do they work for popping over the border to Spain? Jerry might want to step in on that after we've heard from you, Renata. It's the same as you mentioned for the US people, isn't it? If you're over 60, you're going to need to go into that process. Is that right, Renata?
Yes, right.
All right. And Jerry, international driving license, is that going to help popping across to Spain?
Yes, my understanding is that if you exchange for a Portuguese license, once you have a proper Portuguese license, it's valid in most countries around the world for driving or for renting cars. I've just come back from Ireland where I rented a car without any problem using my Portuguese license. Last month I rented a car in the States with my Portuguese license with no problem at all. The problem comes when in the exchange process, when you first hand in your foreign license, you'll receive a piece of paper, which is a temporary Portuguese license, and that will work for you in Portugal whilst they process everything else and you get your new proper Portuguese license. Now, the temporary paper probably won't be recognized in any other country. And that's when you may need to get an international driver's license, international driver's permit, an IDP. They can be arranged. It's not expensive. I think it's 20 euros or less. And they can be arranged just by going to an ACP office. If anybody wants to make contact with them, let me know and I'll connect them.
That's fantastic, Jerry. Thank you. So there you go, Peter. That was your first question about popping over the border to Spain, for example. And thank you, Jean, for your help on that as well. Message to you, Peter, from Jean in the chat. And your second question, there is a method to, or maybe rather odd, there is method to my maybe rather odd sounding question, Peter. Do people in Portugal buy vans and convert them to camper vans, motorhomes? And if they do, does this throw up any problems when registering the converted van change of use? It really does, doesn't it, Jerry? I think it's a tricky area you're going into, isn't it, doing a van conversion for Portugal?
It is a tricky area. I did know someone who did it, but everything inside the van we could take out. So he converted it back to a van for most of its use, but when they wanted to use it as a camper van, they put all the stuff back in again. But I think it's quite a dodgy area.
I would agree with you.
And it might even raise questions about insurance. And yeah, so I think it's best to be avoided if possible.
I would agree. Let's talk to Nuno on that, on the matter of insurance. If people buy a van shell and build a tiny home inside it, how does that go down with the insurance companies, Nuno? Oh, and let's unmute you as well. You as well, third time and you're off.
Sorry.
No, not at all. You carry on. You're here for into your third hour, I think, of presentation. So yeah, carry on.
So first, I believe that any kind of conversion requires a formal inspection.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, you'll be allowed to use the car as a car. Otherwise, you are not able to drive that vehicle. So this is the first, and because I know, or I think that's my belief, that in the United States is pretty easy to transform any car and it's okay to drive.
Yeah, same in UK.
But in Portugal, this is not the situation. So there are a lot of restrictions regarding car transformations. So please, I don't know who could assist you with this matter, but you really need to check if this is something that you could do or not. There are some vans that people transform, putting beds on side of it, so it's like camper vans, but they don't change the motor, either the outside of the car, so they just give a different usage to that vehicle. And to this, it's okay, no problem. But if you are changing the motor or the outside of the car, take care of that.
Putting in windows or changing the structure. Yeah. Pedro, I think it's a tall order and you could be getting yourself into a lot of unnecessary bother with that. And one other thing to say, I think, is in Portugal, there are roadblocks, aren't there, and vehicle checks, which are quite a nice income generator for the GNR. And they might have a field day if you've done some conversions there, which aren't strictly legal. So if you're intent on doing that, maybe work with a professional company who do the transformations, who know how to register those with the relevant authorities. And is it fair to say, Nunu, that white vans, if you're going to do it in a big white van, the GNR are especially keen to stop big white vans and those sort of commercial vehicles?
Yes, for sure.
Yes.
Right. Jerry, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, yes, I believe also it's mandatory to carry receipts for the contents in any van.
Yeah.
And I think that's one the police like to look out for.
Yes, and I think the last time I saw that, it was a GNR. I think it was called something like a GNR revenue service, and they were stopping people on a roundabout. And most of the vehicles they stopped were commercial vehicles, presumably wanting to see, or for the people driving the vehicle to account for the tools inside, or the goods and that were on board.
Yeah, and don't forget, the police now get a commission on the fines.
So expect more of that sort of behavior on roundabouts and Sunday mornings around Portugal as well. So Pedro, it's not looking good for that, but not impossible. Okay, thank you very much for your two questions there. I think back to you, Renata, for this. Do we need to show passive income at the CEF appointment or just for the visa application? It's a bit of both, isn't it?
For the both, yes. You basically need to show the updated documents from the visa application on the CEF appointment.
Okay, brilliant. And another for you, for the D7, is the term of responsibility document enough to fulfill the long-term rental requirement if only the lodging portion is covered, not responsibility for living expenses? So this is an area, I think you mentioned, didn't you, how there is a little bit more care and attention given to a lot of these applications now. Some are pushed back, and I know the responsibility term of responsibility document is quite controversial as well. Tell us more about that, if you will.
Yes, so for the D7 visa application, we don't recommend submitting term of responsibility. Okay, we have been noticing some visa denials. Okay, some appeals I did because of people presented term of responsibility. So be careful. Also, it depends on the consulate that you are applying. Okay, but we always recommend showing a long-term lease agreement. Okay, it will be better for your application.
There you go, Elkaran. So let's talk more generally then about the appeals process. We first of all should say that EI have an incredible success rate in having people move to Portugal. Okay, outstanding level of success in successful applications. And then in the event of it, of some sort of refusal, that's where you come in, Renata, generally speaking, the Queen of the Appeals. Tell us about that process, please.
Okay, so you have a first phase called prior hearing, okay? They give you like the first chance for you to appeal on your visa process. So you can submit additional documents, you can submit like a formal request, as I do, okay? And this is the first chance that you have to appeal. You don't have to pay any fee for this, okay? You have the right to appeal. You have 10 business days once you receive the notification to submit. So it's a very short deadline for you to submit the visa appeal. And then the consulate will analyze if they want to give you a second chance or not, okay?
Right. And that's the point where it's good to have a top professional like yourself going to that meeting. What's the appeal success rate like with EI?
Okay, now almost 90% success.
How about that? Okay,
Appeals.
that's
Okay.
good to know. And can I ask a personal question? What is it that appeals to you about appeals so much? Is it, I mean, you went into the law for a certain reason, presumably. Is it a sense of justice and fair play? Is that what motivates you?
Maybe, yes, for my own case, in fact. I started working, studying immigration law because I am also an immigrant. I have residence permit here because I'm Brazilian. So my own process was denied.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, I started studying that. So to say, no, it's not possible, it's not fair. I'm going to study and I'm going to appeal. And I did an appeal and it worked. So I said, okay, I'm going to work with this now. And it started like this on my own case and it was successful. So I understand what people go through, the process of an appeal and all the visa process, because I'm also an immigrant besides the professional side. I know what you are going through, all the stress the people being through and receive a letter like you were denied. So
I'm so glad I asked you. I'm so glad I asked you that question. That is so inspiring to hear that. And I'm guessing it was quite a short job interview with Gilda then. So you want to work in visas. How did it go when you appealed, when you were turned down yourself? I got it turned over. Okay, you're hired.
Yes, yes, almost like that.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, do give our regards to Gilda. Actually, what we normally do, Renata, and thank you for sharing that with us. Really appreciate that. And forgive me for prying, but I'm glad I did in a way. Gilda tells us about Mandela and how he's doing. Do you have a pet as well?
No, I don't have, but I love Mandela. I don't have.
Everybody does.
I have in Brazil one parrot. I don't know the word in English, the parrot that speaks. How do you call a parrot that speaks some words?
Oh, okay.
And I have one, but in Brazil.
I don't know the technical term. That was your pet in Brazil there. Wow. And I've seen, I've got kids, so I've seen Rio, the movie. That's where exactly.
Yes, that's that one. And they speak my name. They speak my name. There is a couple, in fact, and they speak my name. They offer you coffee when you're in my house. Very funny.
Really? That is so hospitable of them. And what are their names?
It's Belchior. Okay, and the other one died very soon, so no names yet.
Love to Bocchio then in Brazil. Fantastic. Okay, thank you for your questions. Let's go back to Zoom, to S. Elkaran. We've dealt with that. Peter's 2 questions as well. Jen is asking, I may have missed this, but what's going on with the EU tourist visas for US citizens? This is interesting and something worth mentioning, isn't it? Heard that in 2024, we'll need to apply for a visa for just a visit. It may be outside of EI's jurisdiction. No, you'll know about this. Is it ETIAS? Is that the name of the certificate that's required now?
Yes. This is the project but it's not anything approved yet. Okay, it was postponed by the UN, but there is a project of the ETIAS in 2024. Yes.
Right, and it's not a visa, is it? It's just a pre-flight process to know who's coming into the Schengen area, basically.
Yes, like a pre-authorization, okay, for the tourism.
Okay, and it's for tourists. It's not to live or to work here. It's what tourists will need to do from the United States, or I think generally speaking, people out of Schengen. Was there any talk of how much it will cost, Renata, in the proposals?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Is there any talk of how much it will cost? The fee for it?
Not yet. No.
But the likelihood is it will come in at some point. This is a tourism certificate, if you like, rather than a visa, or a tourism visa, perhaps, rather than the other kinds of D visas that we have in Portugal.
I believe it's a way, sorry, for them to check the requirements before you enter Portugal.
Yeah. Okay. So that is a change, and well said, Jen. We haven't talked about that yet. Tom.
There is, Carl, if I can just add to that, there's a
Sure.
similar requirement for Europeans going to the USA. It's been enforced for quite a few years now, where we have to buy pre-purchase an entry visa, declare that we're not going as terrorists and stuff like that.
Yep. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the reciprocal arrangement, I suppose.
It's pretty much, I think it's the reciprocal arrangement. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Tom's saying it isn't a visa per se. Thank you for your help on that, Jerry and Renata. It isn't a visa per se, but you will need to get pre-clearance. It will be valid for 3 years. There will be a small fee, says Tom, who's clearly researched it, of $7. So that's not going to break the bank. It's an admin fee for putting you through that process. And Jean also added.
I think the word is tax.
The word is tax, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Starting in 2024, Americans will need authorization via the ETIAS. It's not really a visa, but a travel authorization form. There's not a tax, but a TAF. Travel authorization form will cost $7 and valid for 3 years. That's pretty good, isn't it? That it's valid for 3 years, so you won't have to keep taking it out. But you'll be on the system and you'll be ready to rock and roll coming into Portugal. I thought Jerry was coming to help drink the remains of the cabinet when in Ireland. You couldn't fit that in at Stuart's house by the sound of it, Jerry.
I'm sorry, Stuart, I couldn't, but I'm sure Stuart can handle my share for me. I'm sure he's up for that.
I think so. We'll hear.
I also saw that he was cooking some Irish sausages and some Clonakilty black pudding tonight. So was that you, Stuart, doing that?
It was Stuart, wasn't it? I remember having a full Irish, I suppose it would be called, in an Irish B&B, and I think there were 6 different kinds of sausage on the plate. That's how it works, isn't it, in Ireland?
Yeah, fair enough.
Even more sausage than Portugal. That's quite the claim. Okay, thanks for both answers, Jerry. So I should buy a coach-built camper van in Britain and own it 6 months before I arrive, or buy one in Portugal. Again, it's complicated, isn't it? Matriculating something is going to be a hard work. Buying something Portuguese could be easier, couldn't it, Jerry, if it's already been matriculated?
Well, absolutely. I mean, 2 things to say. First of all, it will be right-hand drive if you buy it in the UK, and you'll be driving on the wrong side of the road when you get to Portugal, and that will also devalue the vehicle if you ever decide to sell it in Portugal. So and it will have to be matriculated, and that will incur some costs.
Yeah.
So it might be wiser to check the options to buy the vehicle directly in Portugal. Make sure, obviously then it's left-hand drive and there's no matriculation requirement. A really good website, and I'll put it in the chat, to check out prices and get an idea is standvirtual.com. And there's a whole section where you can just look at camper vans, and then that will also give you access to the specialist dealers in camper vans, or probably that's the old word for it. They're mobile homes now, or something.
Yes.
Something even posher than that.
Yeah. Mobile tiny home, possibly van lifing. I think, Peter, that's a good place to look, and Jerry will put that link for you in the chat.
Yeah, doing it now.
Brilliant, thank you. While we were talking about ETIAS there and the authorization to come into Schengen for American folk, regarding the ETIAS, for those of you who've researched this, is there an age cutoff where older folks aren't required to apply? That's worth a try, Connie, but I can't imagine that they'll think, well, somebody over 70 isn't going to cause any trouble. I know a lot of 70 plus troublemakers, so I imagine there isn't an age limit on that. What was the time frame? What is the time frame, says Barak? This is for you, Renata, from having our first meeting with the consulate in Washington, D.C. and when we need to be in Portugal. Once we have had our meeting in D.C., do we need to go back after we have traveled to Portugal? That's for you, Renata.
Yes. We advise that you come back for the visa to be stamped in Portugal, okay, on the immigration post. You're going to need a Portuguese stamp for your self-appointment, okay?
Brilliant. Okay, thank you for that. And we'll stay with you because S asked a brilliant question, ESS in Zoom here. What are the common reasons that people from the US are being denied? So when you spring into action with an appeal, and she's he or she is asking for San Francisco particularly, if they have a particular reason to reject, but what are the common reasons for that?
Okay, I've been sending a lot of appeals to San Francisco consulate. I'm not, don't want to scare you, okay? But San Francisco is top of my list of appeals. San Francisco consulate, Washington, New York, okay? Basically, it depends on each case, but most of all, they issue like a notification with a general reason. Say you don't comply with the article of the law. So we need to understand why did they issue this, why they denied the application. They basically don't say any concrete reason, okay, in general. So, but I have one thing in mind that I've been noticing from my processes. People don't present a very important document in the visa application. It's called explanation of motives that we present in our visas in EI, okay? It's very important because you can have the detailed information of your income, so the consulate can understand very clearly what's your financial situation, because they don't have time to sit and try to understand your application because they have thousands of process to analyze. And if you have a document called like an explanation of motives that explain very well all your financial situation, the source of your income, it's easier for the consulate to understand your situation, so it's easier for them to approve as well.
Very good. And you've got some great coaching and templates, haven't you, for that letter of motivation?
Yes.
Particularly helpful there with a find them, of course, in the Expats Portugal Business Directory, 10% discount for premium members. So it's well worth. We haven't had anyone sign up during this call. We have had that before. It's always exciting when that happens.
We have had one, Carl, so it might one's just popped in actually.
Fantastic. Good news. Great to hear that. If you want to make it two, do that right away. And we'll see a big smile on Jerry's face. Right, and you will get a lot of discounts and benefits and all sorts of perks by doing so, and you can do that at expatsportugal.com. Renata, we'll stay with you. Does your parrot say "que un café"? Is that how?
Yes.
They learned from the owners. Thanks, Glenn, for that.
Yes.
Que un café, que un café.
Yes.
All right. And Anna is saying, who's getting really excited about the Pope's visit in Cascais. It's like the ESTA. So the ETIAS will be like the ESTA to the United States. Apparently, the Americans charge us $21 and we're only going to be charging them $7. Something wrong with that picture.
Not fair.
Not fair, is it?
Not fair.
You and the Pope.
I think
say
it
it's
should
not
be
fair.
the same. And children pay the same, so I don't understand why, if they are waiving the price for the younger, Europeans are not doing it right.
If it's okay with you, Anna, I'm going to leave you to take on American immigrants.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right, we're a bit busy at the moment. Okay. Thank you. Excellent backdrop. El Karan, I found, this is going back to the earlier question, Renata. I found a long-term rental outside of Lulé. Brilliant, beautiful town in the Algarve in May. It's a new rental and the owner has been waiting for city council approval since before then. My VFS San Francisco appointment is August 31st and I'm extremely concerned that I will not have the signed contract in time. Is there anything that can be done to get help from Lulé City Council? Is that a job for Casa Portuguesa? Might they be able to get in touch with Lulé Council?
Yes, I don't work with Casa Portuguesa directly, okay? But we are partners, so okay, they can help you on this issue. But you should present a valid lease agreement already for your visa application, okay? Or you should present like a promissory agreement. It may help.
Okay, so there you go. Don't leave that, El Karan, as a gap in your application. If that can't work out at Lulé, I think the advice there is to get something in place. Otherwise, you will compromise your situation. Jerry, Last Supper. Thanks, Renata. The Last Supper in Ireland, Jerry. Typically, Irish invited 5 neighbours to going away party, and now around 40 coming, bringing their friends with them. My daughter says whatever is left.
That's because they all want to make sure he really does leave.
What do you know about Stuart? And you were sharing that you brought black and white pudding back, not in the same package. They're 2 separate things, aren't they? It's not a black and white pudding, is it?
No.
Right. Two kinds of sausage. That would be clever to have a black and white pudding all in one skin there. Excellent stuff. Cheers, Stuart. I have read that all USA citizens will require the ETIAS, but the fee will be waived for under 18. So there you go, Anna. And over 70s Okay, that's interesting. Good to know. Thank you for that, Jean. Excellent.
Not fair, not fair. We should raise the price.
Oh, okay, but you're happy with under 18s coming in for free and over 70s?
If the same applies to Europeans going to the US, I think it should be the same price.
Okay, sign Anna's petition on an internet near you soon. Right. Okay. And she's got the Pope behind her, literally. Okay.
I'm blessed by him.
Watch out, American immigration. Jerry, you'll never be allowed back in Ireland if they find you are eating puddings cold. It's good Scottish. Oh, here's an important question. Is good Scottish or Irish steak available in Portugal, Jerry?
No, and you've got to be careful with the steak, Stuart. It can be really, really good from the Mirandesa area. If you see the Mirandesa certified steak, that can be really, really good. But it can also be slightly tougher than your old boots.
And that's why you need a good policy from Nunu that has a dental.
Yes, that has dental cover, definitely. That's why Nuno has spent so much money at the dentist, because he eats so much steak.
That's it, isn't it? And the prego sandwich, which is a steak sandwich, I think prego means nail, doesn't it? And sometimes it is actually as tough as a nail. So you have to be careful or young with all your teeth to tackle one of those. Brilliant.
Stuart, where are you coming to? Where are you settling in Portugal?
Okay, let us know, Stuart. Let's do a few quickies.
Yeah, just on mute, Jerry.
Oh, there you go. Hello, Stuart.
Yeah.
Sorry, where?
Yeah, we're relocating, flying over on Saturday and into Faro, and we're spending in Budens until the end of March next year.
Okay. I don't know any good steak restaurants I can recommend that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'll have to come up here. You'll have to come up to Central. I'll show you around there.
Well, the plan is after the end of March next year that we're looking to then move up central northern Portugal.
Right.
Okay.
Travel around a little bit and then see if we eventually settle down somewhere.
Pop into
Right.
Silver Coast.
We'll
We've
make
got
it more
Naco de Pedra here. We've got Naco de Pedra, which is a steak, and you can get the what's the Japanese one called? You can get that on hot
Kobe.
cooked on Kobe steak on hot stones here, not far from me on the Silver Coast. Sorry, Jerry, you were adding something for Stuart there.
Yes. No, sorry. I was saying to Stuart, we'll make a lunch date, Stuart, and we'll find a nice steak place.
That's
Right.
good, Jerry. And wash it down by a pint of Guinness.
There you go. And if you're confused, folks, that is not an Irish accent. That I'm confused as well. Stuart, with a very Scottish accent, I think I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay. It just
Same,
depends.
same thing, Carl. Scotland and Ireland, not much difference.
No.
Well, I think I need to mute everybody up at that point just in case it kicks off. Okay. Over on YouTube then, thanks, Jean. Thank you, Autumn Aspens, who also says, go Portugal. The ladies soccer team, who the Prime Minister had to fly off to see at very short notice, I think who did they beat 2-0? But they're certainly winning, the ladies World Cup team in Japan at the moment. Who was it, Duna? Vietnam 2-0 to the Portuguese ladies. Good stuff. Mariette, we will meet the monthly financial criteria for a family of 4. Do we have to have savings showing in our Portuguese account, Renata?
Yes.
You
You need to show savings in the Portuguese bank account and your country of origin. Okay.
Good evening, all of you. Thanks, Renata, from Johan. I have a question regarding dependents over 18 that need to register at school in Portugal, presumably college or university. My question is, how long should the dependent keep registering at school, presumably to show as a dependent? So how long can that go on for, Renata?
So to register, sorry, let me.
This is registering somebody in the education system as a dependent.
As a dependent, you can register on your tax return here in Portugal as a dependent as well. If you pay taxes here in Portugal or in tax authority, you can register the person as your dependent.
Okay. And the question specifically from Johan is, my question is how long the dependent should keep registering at school? Well, presumably for as long as they are at school, they need to just show,
Yes, they need to study here, okay.
Yeah, don't
Thank
understand that entirely, Johan. Maybe you could elaborate in the chat there. Although we've only got a few minutes to go. So how do folks get refused? We dealt with that, or Renata did anyway. Ramaral, hi everyone. Not sure if this question is already asked on today's call. It's a reunification question, Renata. For a family reunification visa, what is required? What are the required funds to be shown in a Portugal bank account for my spouse and 5-month baby, please?
Yes, so you applying for a visa or residence permit? It depends as well, because there is a residence permit directly for family reunification, and there is a visa that you apply on the consulate. So it depends on each process you are applying to, okay?
All right, we might not get that in time, but you also ask, Rama, how long these funds are to be shown before the CEF appointment. They've got to be in at the CEF appointment, basically, haven't they, Renata?
Yes, like the 3 months, the last 3 months proof of income, okay?
Okay, there you go. And any information on when the family reunification appointments will be opened?
Unfortunately, not yet. This is Rama.
Yeah, Rama.
Yes, Rama, I know you. I remember you. I helped you on the visa, your visa. I remember you. But we don't have any forecast by set yet.
All right,
okay,
Rama.
unfortunately.
Thank you, Renata. I'm sorry if that's not better news there, Rama. Derek's recommendation with the steak and the beef is Aberdeen Angus beef is available in Pingados supermarkets and their hamburgers. Yes, I made a bolognese the other day, and the only mince I could find was Aberdeen Angus. It was a real treat. And it's antibiotic free, I noticed, in Pingados, and hormone free. It's a really good quality Aberdeen Angus beef for those who want it at Pingados. And also Mercadona are pretty good on meat as well, I have to say. Although maybe I shouldn't say that out loud, as they're a Spanish store coming into Portugal. My favorite country after Portugal, of course. Are you trying to make good with the United States now, Anna?
No, I'm talking about Scotland.
Not America. Brilliant.
No.
All right.
Sorry.
Where Sarah is tonight. So let's go to that final question this evening. We'll come back to you, Sarah, in just a moment. But just giving you a warning there, in case the Scottish whiskey is having an effect on you over there in Scotland. We talked about Lisbon and Porto and the relative weather. I want to talk about nightlife. We've got a Lisboeta, a lettuce eater in the form of Nuno. We have a tripe eater. That's what they're called. I didn't make that up. That's Renata, who lives in Porto. So let's start with Nuno first, and we'll finish with Sarah because she's been to both of these places as a stranger. As a Lisboeta, Nuno, when you're in Porto, what are your favorite things to do there up in the north? And don't say to get back on the road to come back to Lisbon ASAP.
Oh, no. What I'd like to do? No idea. I only go to Porto to a purpose.
Right, okay, not to socialize.
No.
So only business. It sounds like you're not entirely interested in pleasure in Porto, so to speak.
Sorry, you don't like francesinhas? You don't like to eat our francesinhas here?
Yeah, no.
Well, they are okay, Renata, but I prefer cozinha à portuguesa, ou caras de bacalhau com grão, or
some Portuguese specialities there. So that's really underwhelming.
I love Porto.
Okay,
no problem at all.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for, Anna. And what is it you love to do then? What would you recommend?
Except for the football, okay, I love Porto.
Yeah, point taken.
It's amazing. Everything is good.
Okay.
Everything. The city is amazing. People are very, very friendly. They say a lot of bad words.
Yes.
But it seems welcoming. I don't know why.
They do swear, don't they? It said they swear a lot, as well as eating tripe. They swear a lot. Okay.
Yeah. But I like everything. Tripas, a moda do Porto. I love it. Francesinha is a must. Everything, and I love going there.
Okay.
Yeah. Walking near the river, it's amazing.
And then maybe a couple of glasses of port wine.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So Nuno, a bit disappointing there and underwhelming about Porto.
No, I like to go to Porto, especially because I have some close friends there. But it's to socialize with my friends, not to go out or during the night or.
You leave that to the tourists. You leave that to the tourists. Fair enough. Yeah, is it the same for you then, Renata? Thanks, Nuno. Thank you, Anna. Is it the same for you?
But the river area and crossing the old bridge doing by Eiffel crossing to Vila Nova de Gaia. Oh, it's an amazing walk. But
There
it's
you
not-
go. There you go. A port wine and across the river with the Eiffel connection there. Cheers, Nuno. I thought we'd get something out of you in the end there. Now, looking at it the other way around, the Porto lady coming down to Lisbon. What do you like to do in Lisbon, Renata, when you're here?
I love Lisbon. I like the cultural life in Lisbon, the nightlife in Lisbon.
Yeah.
It's very nice, and also the beaches.
Fantastic. Okay. And what about the food?
Yes, the food. The food, it's for me, it's similar. Don't get me wrong, please, but
Very good.
it's my first time here, but
Yeah, you're not being too controversial.
Yes.
It's been a real pleasure to talk to you this evening, and thank you for your excellent answers. Sarah, having been to both Lisbon and Porto, do you have a favorite? Can we draw you on that?
Oh, it was difficult. I did like Porto. I was quite lucky because the weather was very good when I was in Porto. I personally, I live in the countryside, but I like to be by the water, so both tick those boxes. There's like sort of bars and places to eat right on the water and the views, so they both are quite similar in that aspect. And there's nice restaurants. I've actually been to two nice steak restaurants, one in Porto and one in Lisbon, so I'll put them in the link that you can have a look.
Good on you.
And
There
they
you
were
go.
both good, so I would say I'm really torn, to be fair. I probably spend a bit more time in Lisbon. Is a little bit bigger place and maybe more to see, so that's probably my preference, but it's still nice to visit Porto.
Absolutely. Okay. I think we can safely say you need to go to both, everybody who's coming. You know, you'll have your immediate favorite, I think, and your preference, but make sure you don't miss out on the other one. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to you, Nuno, and certainly for the other webinar as well this evening. You've worked very hard for us this evening, so thank you so much. And Renata, wonderful debut. I hope we see you again on the screen here sometime soon. Queen of the Appeals. Send our love to the rest of the team if you will, and thank you so much for being here tonight.
thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Muito
Bye-bye.
prazer, muito obrigado. And over to you, Jerry, to sum up and close for us
Okay.
tonight.
Thank you, Carl. I would just very quickly like to read out a review that's just popped in, just appeared on our website from one of our members, and I'd like to read it. An overwhelming move being made possible by Expats Portugal and their network of recommended professionals, lovingly referred to as the Dream Team. Started researching a move to Portugal about 18 months ago. Since then, we've worked with Recent Pelicano, EI, Spartan FX, also had consultations via Zoom and multiple emails with Global International Relocation, with Winsurance, with Serenity, and with Mortgage Direct and ACP. Every single individual was kind, extremely knowledgeable, and patient. This is an overwhelming process. Planning is essential. These professionals understand that we need hand-holding during this process. Never a disappointment. Candidly, I'm shocked at the breadth of knowledge and hand-holding that they do and willing to provide. Later this year will mark my second renewal. I plan on staying a member during my entire residency in Portugal. The weekly Zoom YouTube live webinar alone is worth the membership as new information is shared, and there are often ideas very useful to daily life in Portugal. Isn't that a wonderful review,
That is
team?
brilliant.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
that. And
Steve.
congratulations to our
beautiful.
team for that also.
Yeah, well done. Take a bow, all of you. What a
Very good.
fantastic note to end on, Jerry. Do you want to say anything about upcoming attractions?
Yes, next Thursday at 7:30 Lisbon time, we are having a more lighthearted webinar about things I wish I knew before I moved to Portugal. Brackets, like what Francina tastes like. Close brackets.
Controversial ending there. Thanks again.
Carl,
Yes,
Carl, can I
Jackie,
say
good
one
evening.
thing? Good evening.
And-
One last thought.
Yeah.
So absolutely, Renata, Sarah, Nuno, you did a great job. But Renata and Sarah, you guys looked beautiful on camera tonight. You look like professional journalists. I just have to up my game because you girls, you both looked amazing.
Yeah, me too. I was definitely the thorn between two roses tonight. I can't speak for you, Nunu. I wasn't referring to you as a rose, by the way, there. Anyway, before I get myself into any more trouble, thank you, Jackie, for that. Over to you, Jerry, to close.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say just watch this space a little bit for next week's webinar, because we're really being busy at the moment and trying to slot different Dream Team members in and so on. So it might change. And then on Saturday night, the first Saturday in August at 9 p.m. Lisbon time, we'll have our social webinar led by the lovely Connie and her junior trainee assistant Hank. That's free for all. Come and join us and talk about anything you like, as long as it connects with Portugal. And it'll probably go on till the small hours of the morning. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to our members. Bon night, and see you in Portugal.
Ciao, ciao. Brilliant job. Thank you very, very much. Bye.